Welcome to this week's vlog. There's a lovely song that we used to sing quite regularly. Not heard it so much recently, but it's a song that has the words, "Jesus, take me as I am. I can come no other way." And the great news of the Bible, of the gospel message, is that Jesus does take us as we are. He doesn't expect us to become perfect. He doesn't expect us to have so much knowledge of the Bible or to have gone to church so many times or whatever. He takes us, he receives us, he welcomes us, he loves us as we are. And that's the wonderful thing. Think of the many people who came to Jesus in the Gospels, and people of all sorts, all varieties, all backgrounds, some shunned by society but welcomed by Jesus. But the interesting thing is that some people think, I've come to Jesus, I've got a faith, and now I can just carry on in every way that I like. But actually, that's not how it works. That's not what Jesus wants for us, because he accepts us as we are, but then begins the work of transformation through the Holy Spirit at work in our lives. We are transformed more and more day by day into the likeness of Jesus himself. That is God's aim, God's desires. So yes, Jesus, take me as I am, but then, Lord, transform me into the person that you want me to be. And we see that in an interesting way in the disciple of Jesus called Peter. We at church have been going through the first letter of Peter in the New Testament, and recently we came to a conclusion by looking at 1 Peter chapter 5. And in that chapter are these words, which I often or regularly remind people of when they're going through troubled times when they are struggling in their lives. And it's this 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7, where Peter writes, "Cast all your anxiety on him," that is on Jesus, "because he cares for you." So when we're carrying around a weight of anxiety, of struggles, when we don't know which way to turn, Peter says, cast your anxiety on him. Just place that burden that you're carrying at the foot of Jesus. He can carry it, he can deal with it. Why? Because he cares for you. He loves you. And in that knowledge, we can bring those burdens, those troubles, those anxieties to him. But how did Peter come to that point where he knew that to be true? And as I read that verse, I was reminded of a verse back in the Gospels in Mark chapter 4, where that's a story of Jesus and the disciples in the boat on Galilee. And suddenly a great storm blows up, and the wind and the waves are tossing that little boat about. And the disciples, who many of them were fishermen, so used to being on the lake, became so fearful that they're going to capsize and drown. And they look to Jesus, who is still, despite the storm, asleep in the boat. And we're told this: Jesus was in the stern of the boat, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" So at that point, they had no assurance. Even though they followed Jesus, they still had no definite assurance of his love for them, his concern for them, his care for them. Don't you care if we drown? And of course, Jesus did care desperately, and he woke and he spoke to the wind and waves, and all became quiet, all became calm. So from that point, in Peter's own discipleship, relationship with Jesus, he doubted that Jesus cared for him. Don't you care, Lord, if we drown? To the point where he's writing his letter many years later, and he's saying to his readers, who themselves are going through times of struggle and trial and persecution, cast all your anxiety on him, for he cares for you. See, that work of transformation happened in Peter's heart as he grew deeper in his relationship with Jesus, as he got to know Jesus in a more intimate and deeper way, he came to see, to understand, to know in his heart, through experience, yes, Jesus, God cares for me. And my prayer for myself and for you is that we may continue to grow in our relationship with Jesus, so that we can say with all assurance, with no doubt, he cares for me. And if we know that, then that gives us strength for life, strength to overcome any adversity that we face. Cast all your anxiety on him, for he cares for you. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening today.